All right, welcome back everybody to the Junto. This is episode 19 and it's the 9th of February, Monday, and yeah, this will be a little bit rambly because I have a lot to talk about here. We're kind of also I gave myself a haircut and I am dressed nicer than I ever thought I would be for this show. Nicer in quotes. Just because I put on this shirt and this shirt does not look good without something else. So, all right, here we are. And yeah, so I've renamed the show. It's the Junto. And I've got some emails and some messages asking me if I'll be making a real life Junto. And probably, yeah, I mean, there kind of is like a de facto one, but it's not regularly meeting. And anyway, so the reason I chose that word is that word denotes people gathered together for a common purpose, and we are gathered here today because I think a lot of people feel horrible living in our society and are struggling to articulate exactly what it is. I think we're raised to be ignorant, raised to be incapable, and now that actually the conditions of society are decaying even further, I think people they're coming up against the wall and they're like reassessing what's going on and they're struggling to make sense of what is going on in the world. So this is going to be a very long form project over many months where we talk regularly about this. And there's multiple reasons for doing that. And there's multiple, I see the show filling a few gaps in my own life, I guess, where I think the lives that we live in the present society are damaging to the human spirit. I think they are impoverished lives. I think our society is very hateful or hate driven. I think it is money worshipping. I think it is run by psychopaths. And I think it has a long history of just increasing complexity and insanity of historical events, just like things you wouldn't believe, really. And it's something that I guess I'll split it into a couple things. Like it's hard to live like that to begin with, because we're in the AI era where more than a quarter way into the 21st century and things are moving very, very rapidly. It's hard to hang on. It's hard to hang on and make sense of things. And I think the ground is being pulled out from everybody constantly. And most people live in that state of just suspension or ungroundedness, like they're just afloat in the ocean, getting pulled whichever way the current decides to pull them that day. And in this society, this current tends to be information, because we're all using novel media devices that engage with our nervous system and the nervous systems of everybody around the globe in unfamiliar ways. They wire us up. I mean, literally, they wire us up in ways that we're not used to and are not accustomed to. However, we're a very adaptable species, and so we get used to it. So what I see happening in the 21st century is people getting used to ways of living and normalizing ways of living that are extremely unhealthy and very politically dangerous. So yeah, this show, on the one hand, I see it as a respite for people to get away from that, because when you're in that society where all those things are normalized and you sense that something is wrong, or you completely understand that something is wrong, it can be a very gaslighting experience to just go out every day and see the whole, I don't know, the sewer that has taken over the globe, and everyone acting like it's normal for the most part, at least institutionally. And I mean, most people act like it's normal. So I find that difficult, and I certainly need to, I find a lot of solace in texts written from all centuries, but there's some that are extremely poignant just from the 50s to the 80s that saw a lot of this before it had grown from the seed, and we are in the adolescence of this, and it is developing rapidly, and I think it's very dangerous. I think it's extremely dangerous to human dignity all over the planet. I think it is extinguishing human cultures. It is extinguishing human lives. It's extinguishing animal lives. It's extinguishing plant lives. It is really a total catastrophe. However, in the society that I live in, it is like the handle I chose for this name is American Junto on most social media, because it's a Junto and I'm in America, and most people around the globe have to reckon with the history of America anyway. It's a very it's an improbable country, as one of my friends put it. And so anyway, in this society, it is hang on a moment. I don't know. I guess that's the first reason for the show. It's just like I'm going to talk about what I really think about the situation that we're in, and I know actually already that some people are appreciating that and are appreciating the articulation of certain things that they have thought about, but they don't. And even if they articulate it themselves and they understand it themselves, they don't have someone to talk about it with. And we may not be literally directly talking to each other, but I think it's nice to see that you're not crazy. Like in those texts, like texts by Guy Debord or Jacques Ellul, people who were sociological observers in the past, I need to go back to those texts because they make me feel like I'm not crazy. So anyway, so that's sort of one purpose of this, or maybe that's two. One is just to like relax and get that sense of like, okay, I'm not crazy, and it's nice to hear someone talk about all this stuff that is destroying the lives of my family members and my society members and everyone I know. But then on the other hand, that articulation bit that I mentioned is a essential part of what I'm trying to do here. And I certainly wouldn't say that I have all the answers. I'm not the smartest person I know that thinks about this stuff, and I have a long way to go. So, however, and I'm also, I'm relying on texts from the past several thousand years, like in order to understand my position in this world. So certainly I'm not purporting to just have all the answers. I'm searching for the answers. I feel like if I have any quality that is particularly good for this, it's just that I feel like I really do have a like like kind of a nose for the truth. Like I just have been trying to figure, like I've felt uncomfortable in this world since I was a child, and I have been trying to understand what is going on the whole time in varying degrees. And after years and years of that, mixed with a refusal to participate too, I would just live sort of in I don't know, I have like an artist background, and I would live in very cheap communal living spaces in order to just focus on surviving and making sense. And ultimately that all did pay off, and I feel like I have made a lot of sense of what's going on, and I feel like I'm a much healthier person than I ever used to be, and I feel like I'm in certain ways healthier than many of the people that I see in the world. Like I feel like I am not suffering in this moment. I feel like I feel very ready to meet the moment that I live in, the historical moment. So I'm hoping that through articulating stuff like that on the show day after day and reading texts and making sense, I'm hoping that I can help people who don't feel that way, who are struggling and who are confused. And certainly there's a part of it too where I think of myself when I was depressed and suicidal in my early 20s, and I would like to reach out to that version of myself and show them the way. And like, I'd like to show people what I have made sense of. There's sort of one way I think of it is like, just by virtue of being human, we all have a compass like hidden in our heart, so to speak. And this compass is very difficult to read, and you pretty much forget that it's there. However, that compass points in varying directions at varying times, and it is a guide, it is an indicator of your way. And this is understood by most religious traditions. Taoism, the Tao is the way. Christianity, there's a moral conscience, and through grace and through the Holy Spirit, you can align with that, is my understanding of that. And then, yeah, it is a common concept, age-old concept. And anyway, in this society where things are going so fast and are so overstimulating and so averse to the truth, like really it's a society that hides the truth. It hides any sense making you could do and presents you instead with sort of what I consider in the broad sense to be gossip, to be stuff that does not matter, to be, have you seen this show? Well, where did that show even come from? It's just there's this whole industry of just providing us with gossip to entertain us and divert us over the course of our entire lives so that we never interrogate these things and certainly never create a politics based on this sort of thing. So my other purpose for this show is just to, be a reminder. Like this is sort of in parallel with what I was just saying. There's two parts. It's like, just be a reminder that there is that compass within us, that there is a way to make sense of the human experience and the human condition. And yeah, and then on the other hand, to share information via texts from all ages and from my own experiences and from experiences of the people I talk to and people on the show. Through all of that, we can find a way to, on our own, as our own person, in our own singular lives, learn how to read that compass, learn how to feel your actual heart and feel what to do. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess I just... On the other hand, another thing I hope to remind us of all the time, it's kind of annoying with these buttons on the coat because I can hear it. I assume you can hear it. This mic picks up a whole lot of stuff. But yeah, never worn it here before. So anyway, like I talked about trying to find voices of reason in this highly hostile societal situation that is averse to sharing truth with each other or urging each other to any sense of righteousness or any sense of meaning even in our lives. That is not a totally vapid, shallow form of what meaning ought to be. That I want to contextualize that a little further and add severity and gravity to the situation, because this stuff is just not a game. And we're in a pivotal moment in human history. And contrary to what we are inundated with, we actually have we can bring a lot of weight to bear on the future. Especially given the nature of this moment. I don't know that I would even feel this way in the early 2000s. I mean, I would still recommend cultivating all the sorts of things that we're talking about and increasing your intelligence and finding ways to be virtuous. But like in this particular moment now, a quarter way through the century, with the large language models totally taking off, there is, ever since World War II, we've been in this increasingly in this society that was increasingly managed by information. And that took its hold over our institutions and over our businesses, but it also took hold over us, primarily through the media industry. So we are all, and then you wind up in the 90s with the internet and increasingly with devices that are with us all the time. And the information is really highly integrated into our lives. It is now available in quantities like never before. And basically, I'm kind of imagining. I've never seen the movie. I'm not referencing the movie, whatever that looks like. But The Hobbit, where the dragon like lays in this bed of jewels all the time, and the jewels are like the information. But there's weak spots, or at least one weak spot in its like armor of jewels and scales. And you have to look at history in this way, or you have to look at technology in this way, technology's role in politics, where, like, yes, it is increasingly exacting and dominating, and it is more capable of deeper control than ever before. It's regulating people's behaviors, and they have no idea. They think they're choosing the things that they're choosing, and they're choosing it because they were essentially programmed. There are literally programs running that show them media that they think is just another person like them, and it very well may be another person like them. It probably is, in fact. And yet, via this program, they learn ways of talking. They learn ways of teaching their kids things, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, we really have to look at what's new and what is its capacity for good as well, because there's a whole lot that one can do with LLM technology, with AI, and specifically with the abundance of information on the internet right now. And I talk about this on the show a lot, but those things may not always be available to us. We have things available to us in the late 2020s that I think really ought to be leveraged toward like, sorry, I'm thinking of a non-silly way to say this, but like, it ought to be leveraged towards what this show is about, basically. Like, it should be leveraged toward grounding ourselves in many ways, and not only as singular people, but as people united with each other and understanding these things together, basically for culture making, whether that be political or very personal within the family, whatever. Like, I think there's a lot that can be leveraged if we think strategically. And that brings us to a huge part of the show. I said on New Year's Day that the word of the year is strategy. And what strategy really means is to assess the situation and assess it, understand it through the lens of situations from the past, and plan to move through that lay of the land as you understand it and succeed at the end. Try to move safely through that situation and achieve your irreversible goals. So that is something I think about. That is a big part of the show, because like I made the title of this one for now is attention is your life, I think. And if I stay on that topic, it will remain the title. So sorry, I just swallowed a piece of ginger. All right. So with that concept of strategy in mind, and thinking about the singular person, the human person, as the base unit of the society, of the community, of your compatriots, of your junto, whatever, I think you have to assess your own situation in relation to this mediascape, this media landscape that we live in. And you have to think about how you are using your attention. Because in a sense, your attention is the essence of yourself. I guess I shouldn't say essence, but there's an essential element of your consciousness, certainly, that is perhaps attention. And then yourself contains more than just what is conscious. So I've drawn this big picture. I've drawn sort of a global picture and a sense of a culture that we live within that I consider undeniably horrible. And I don't have to get into all the ways. I talk about it on the show, but also I think it's a lot harder to talk about what to do and what's good. I think, like, I don't know, people have been writing the book on what's bad, and I'll write my own book on what's bad, but more important is the book on what is good and what we have to be doing and how to create that strategy and what the strategy is for. So take my word for it. If you want to argue about it, that's fine. But like, so there's that broad picture, and then we come back to us as individuals and say maybe you're a part of some organizing effort in your life, whether it be a reading group or some sort of like political action committee or whatever it is. And say I'll just paint a picture that we all I don't know too much about this world, but we can all assume this is going on all over the country. Imagine your average like DSA bro. That guy's on his phone. That guy is on his phone every day, all the time, and yet he thinks he's doing some epic social, like, make America socialist thing. Those people are never going to succeed, period, unless they reassess their strategy at the personal level and think about how their phone use and internet use is affecting them and the people around them. And yeah, so, and watch, like, just you can watch from afar whatever happens with that movement. And it's not to say that they won't get certain things done that are I don't know, you can do things, but as far as actually really overcoming this stuff and accomplishing lasting strategic goals, whether they be cultural or political or whatever, that requires something else. So yeah, so that's something I just want to talk about on the show. And with that, I guess I'll get into this attention thing a little bit further. All right. So let me move something here. All right. So attention is your life. And there's the way that you use attention, I don't have a perfect map of the psyche or anything, but I feel like attention is essential to what you know and what you do. And I think it is a really highly atrophied element of the contemporary person. I think most people in the contemporary technological situation are really unaware of what attention is and what it can be and the role that it plays in what they desire. Because I think a lot of people may say, well, I like what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing on the phone. And as I've said on the show, certainly technology use can be fine. I just see normalized habits that are destroying people's brains and subsequently destroying any potential for a non-slave society, basically. So in so when someone says like, no, well, I like what I'm doing, I kind of think of it as, well, let's broaden the context, because you're saying that because you feel good about the stuff that you're watching. It shows you parts of the world that are maybe unfamiliar, or just things that you enjoy on the entertainment level. Hang on a sec. It's just the brightness on my screen just went crazy. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. It was just like hurting my eyes. Okay. Yeah, so I think of that like someone saying they just like the content they see on TikTok or whatever, and look, I mean, some people, they like it, they're never going to leave it. It is what it is. However, for myself, or when I consider this situation, I like to broaden the context. I like to think about, well, what even is really happening? Because when they say that they like it, like they like what they see and they like what they're doing, sitting on the couch, whatever, they're comfortable, it's pleasurable. But you just broaden the context and you think about the way that these industries work. And then you think, I mean, you can just broaden that context as much as possible. And eventually that person's going to be like, I don't like this so much, or like there's total environmental destruction, there's total extreme wealth accumulation, and the population's becoming highly like more manipulable than ever. It's like, oh well, maybe, well, I don't like that big picture, but I like what's going on. And if you're interested in this stuff, I think it is important to keep the big picture, keep a sharp picture of all this stuff that's going on in the world. So yeah, I don't know. There was a quote. There's a few quotes I set aside for today, but there was one I saw yesterday in just as far as like trying to understand the way that desire works in our mind is, I cannot just describe it to you. It kind of has to be experienced. It has to be fought with in order to understand it. Like that's something I find valuable about things like Zen meditation, is when you're doing that, you start really noticing things entering into your mind from who knows where. And that's why I'm pulling up this quote where it says, the whirl of desire. The whirl of desire transforms the innocent mind. I'll read the whole quote, but just that invoking the sense of whirl, I feel like it really is like that in my mind when I'm trying to meditate, or if I'm just kind of attuned to what I'm thinking and why that day. It is moving. It is mysterious. It's like the wind. It is hard to get a hold of, certainly. So the quote is from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 4, verse 12, and it just says, "For the witchery of paltry things obscures what is right, and the whirl of desire transforms the innocent mind." And that witchery of paltry things, what could be that just describes a smartphone to me. It's a small, paltry, meager thing in a sense. In the limited context, it's just your buddy you keep in your pocket, and there's obvious witchery about it. It's like I know how computers work a little more than the average person, and it is insane that we were able to create this from the earth. So anyway, so yeah, for the witchery of paltry things obscures what is right, and the whirl of desire transforms the innocent mind. I think I think it's a dangerous situation, and it's easy to lose sight of it. And when you lose sight of it, it's controlling you. If you lose sight of it, then you just think it's you. That's kind of a major part of the show, is confusing yourself with these desires that are created by a certain relationship to media in the world. And it's not just media, it's our entire society at this point has been rendered by media, because our parents and their parents were experiencing the radio and then the television and movies. And then many people's parents were internet users. And now many people's parents have been smartphone users. And so it is all, and we learn things by mimicking our parents. We mimic the people that were around. Frequently, that is mostly our parents when we're kids. But then in our society, you go into the school system and you meet other kids who are being influenced by their parents, who are all mediatized, I guess. And so there's this like secondhand thing going on where, without knowing it, because I'm not making the point of like a parent who uses a phone is going to show the kid the phone. I mean, even just something like, I mean, that is true and that has its own consequences. But even if you just are engaging with media, that media changes your ideas. And by changing your ideas, it changes the world that you live in and how you act in the world that you live in. So, yeah. Anyway, I mean, I kind of don't even know where to stop here, because it, like, I will just kind of keep on rambling a little bit just to get a picture. But this is all just stuff we have to keep our eye on and increasingly be able to make sense of. Like, there's two other purposes for the show, and these are more things that I keep in mind when I go into it. And one is to delegitimize all of these lifestyles and all of our institutions, and basically delegitimize our society in its entirety as destroying the human mind, as weakening humanity's potential for everything. And then on the other hand is, I would like to get to the point, this is like a goal I have in my own life, but by doing it through the live stream, it's a goal that I'm sharing with other people. Plenty of other people have this as a goal in their own lives too, and I think only more and more people will realize that this is something they want. I want it to be so easy to describe our relationship to media and what it does to us. I want it to be like just second nature to understand how these things are affecting us, and second nature to compare and contrast that and what that makes us do with what we actually really want out of life. And that will require exploring things that we actually really want out of life as well. So anyway, so that's just on the side, two other ways I think about what I'm trying to do here. So I will also talk a little bit about how there is sort of by doing this, basically, I'm not trying to fill in this gap. I can't fill in this gap. However, I'm trying to contribute to a new culture of education, because I think everyone knows, basically everyone knows the university is just like over. I don't know what a university is going to look like 10 years from now, but the university was over 25 years ago. They have sucked for so long compared to what they used to be. And I think however, and it's, I'm not just saying drop out of school. Basically the way I think about it is like, if you are in a social position where it makes sense for you to go to school, like you're not putting yourself in tons of debt for no reason, then pursue it, especially if you're already there. But probably don't go with nothing planned in mind. I don't know, but I'm not trying to give that kind of advice on here. It's very particular to the person. But anyway, regardless of if you are in an Ivy League institution or you have never gone to college or you dropped out of high school, if you are interested in making sense of the world around you and being able to live in it in a way that is not just like totally frustrated and impotent and actually help people survive in this world, I think you need something like a Junto. And that is why I named the show this. Like, you need a group of people where like that is your pursuit. It is to get together with people and actually hone your attention, be able to preserve your attention, increase your intelligence, just your knowledge of things and your skills, and become extremely adaptable, because we don't know what the next 50 years are going to look like at all. We are in such a precarious, weird nuclear security situation with AI characteristics that is, you know, the only thing you can plan for is you're never going to know what to expect. And you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to have some sort of potential where you can confidently move into this uncertain future and not just walk into the meat grinder. So yeah, so that's sort of, and I say you need both because many professors in the Ivy League institutions are totally brain rotted freaks. And I know because I saw one on Friday or Thursday or something. But I'll talk about that. I'll probably talk about that tomorrow. But anyway, and many of them are awesome. Also, I will say, like, there are genuinely intelligent people hanging on to academia. They are rolling with it, and a lot of those people, I talked to some people like that, and they don't know what to plan for. They think the university is totally falling apart. They don't know. They're not counting on anything being like it was. So anyway, but so say you are in that situation and you have a career path planned out. If you are interested in this stuff, like making sense of the world, intellectual pursuits, you just have to do it with other people. You have to get good at talking. You have to overcome any fear of saying what you think. There's so much to practice in an educational or like a para-academic space with other people, because basically the way I think of it is academia, for the large part, is anti-intellectual. I think academia is mostly money driven at this point. You can see that in their billboards. They're like trying to get everybody to just go to the community college, and you've got institutions like prestigious institutions like Bard and everything, or I don't know, I haven't read many statistics, but anecdotally I know Bard, they're opening the gates. Like anyone can go to these schools because they just want the money. It's like a business. So, and that's not to say everyone involved in that bureaucracy is some conniving evil person, but it's a bureaucracy, and it's a profit-driven bureaucracy. And when you're a cog in that machine, you are what you are. So anyway, yeah. Oh yeah. And then as for people who are not in education, like academia has become anti-intellectual. We need to do things to the side of academia. Like, I think of para-academic institutions, like doing something adjacent, doing something in parallel, because academia is going down. And we are in this sort of loops back to what I was talking about, where it's like we have these AI tools, we have access to extreme amounts of information on the internet. And like, you can, if you're getting together with people who are serious about and are committed to dignified lives, living dignified lives and increasing the dignity of lives for other people, like spreading the wealth in this time where everyone is totally impoverished. People are impoverished in terms of attention. They're impoverished in terms of wealth a lot of the time. They're just impoverished in terms of the basic things you would expect from humanity, which is to even have social interactions with anyone. Most people are highly isolated, highly alone. And by coming together in person, I mean, do it online if you want. I would never do that. But like, I mean, well, I mean, group chats are one thing. I hate the, like, I'll never be on a Zoom call. I just don't. I've been on like one, I think. One, no way, like, definitely less than five. And, but anyway, thank you, Henry. Anyway, what do we got? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're like, I don't think people should feel bad for not being in academia. Academia is like a circle jerk, and most of those people are retarded. Like most of your, like, the weird thing about AI at this point is like it has a higher like verbal intelligence and breadth of knowledge than most professors. Like just most professors in the country, period. And that just is what it is. So, and I'm not saying, use it for stupid tasks, but I'm certainly not one of these people who's like never ever use AI. I think people who are aligned with this kind of a mission and are aligned with this type of an intellectual project should use AI intelligently. And maybe we'll just have a whole stream about that at some point, but I'm not one of these people that's like pretend it doesn't exist because basically because, and I think a lot of the people who are like, oh no, don't ever use it, it's going to destroy all the water. I hate that it has such extreme environmental consequences. However, did you know things can get worse? I think a lot of people don't realize that things can get so much worse, and they probably will. So if you are presented with these information tools in this information-based society that is totally fucking you, then you should maybe use the tools if you can find a way to weaponize them against the anti-human turn that we are experiencing that would see people turned into organisms that would be hardly recognized by people from just 100 years ago. So yeah, so find a way if that's your inclination. So yeah, I guess on that note, just thinking about the person now versus the person 300 years ago or something. Like, here's the other thing that I think some people need to get through their heads is we will always, like, I think the way Guy Debord said it in one paper was something like, people will always live on the surface of the earth. Like, people are always going to be people. They are always going to live on the planet, presumably. And so, or, functionally. So we are going to have all the grandiosity of the human experience, or perhaps not all of it, but a wide span of it, no matter what the culture is turning us into from the day that we're born. And so I think some people are really averse to the idea of recognizing how bad things really are and how much it is degrading people, because you point out someone whose life is being like totally impoverished and someone will want to point out, oh, come on, but you can't say that, they're just living their life. And it's like, look, I love that person. I don't want that person's life to be impoverished, but we have to have some kind of standard for understanding human experience and human flourishing, and so that we can recognize when we are getting put in intolerable circumstances, when we are starting to reproduce our population in circumstances that are really perhaps disturbing. Because if you just take for granted that a human life is a human life, then just put us all on life support or something. Like we're all, or like like the Matrix eggs. It's like, if that's all a human life is, I think the human life is a whole lot more than that. So yeah, I don't know. I want to create a world for our children that actually values human life and protects it and tries to improve the society. Yeah. Um, I don't know. There's another quote in here that is kind of related. They won't all be Bible quotes today, but there is another Bible quote. Yeah, so this is Luke 12:22. And yeah, this is the well, I'll just read it. So Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life and what you will eat, or about your body and what you will wear. For life is more than clothing, and the body, or for life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Notice the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, yet God feeds them. How much more important are you than birds?" Can you, saying that, comparing the relative life form, where it's like, look how much care has been put in for the birds. There has been more care put in for you. Can any of you, by worrying, add a moment to your lifespan? If even the smallest things are beyond your control, why are you anxious about the rest? Notice how the flowers grow. They do not toil or spin. But I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of them. So if God so clothes the grass in the fields that grows today and is thrown into the oven tomorrow, will he not much more provide for you, O you of little faith? So the reason I read that is like, I think it's not to play on the worry or anxiety element of that. It's more like, I think people are getting really adjusted to living this I've used the term ersatz before, but it feels like an ersatz form of life. It's like a replacement for life that lacks so much of the real depth of life. And when I think about that story, it's like, or that comparison with, say, a lily, like a flower, you look at the total complexity in that flower, and it is unbelievable. You could study it for your entire life. The human consciousness is it is inherently deeper than that, because it is comprehending that. It just necessarily is. Even if the flower has consciousness, the human consciousness it's like how there's multiple infinities, or there's like larger levels of infinities, like the natural numbers versus the real numbers. Like there's just more real numbers than natural numbers. So like the natural numbers are countable. The real numbers are not countable. So we can't be living in the countable infinity, which is really, actually, that's kind of a funny comparison, because given the information driven element of all of this, like the computer doesn't want to deal with the continuum. It wants to deal with the countable. And that's what it's turning you into. It's making you predictable. It is influencing your actions. It is influencing your thoughts. You become a cog in the machine that ultimately is circulating money until you're not required for that. Anyway, yeah, so I guess just to end on a positive note, I guess I'll end on a sort of positive note, maybe sort of personal note, because I am struggling to hone my own attention. And like, this stream is also for me. This stream is also to help me make sense. It's to help me articulate. So just yesterday and the day before, I've been thinking a lot about this. I don't know when I turned my phone off. It was either Saturday night or at some point on Saturday, and I left it off all of Sunday, and I left it off all day today until I had to promote the stream before starting. And we just, like, I really think we have to take this so seriously. Like, if any of you are out there and feel like you understand what I mean by that, you are the people that I am trying to reach with this. And there's lots of people I'm trying to reach with this for varying reasons, but it's like this is just, the shit is real. Like this is a very serious time in our lives. This is a pivotal moment in history, and our personal attention, our personal consciousness has such a massive role to play in that. And I'm not saying that we have, I mean, on some level this is true, but I'm not saying you have to save the world. I'm saying that you will make such a huge difference in your own life. And your life is not one life. Like none of us are real, like static individuals. Like we are all relating to each other all the time. If you can find it in you to orient your life toward this kind of thing and really hone and strengthen your mind at a time when everyone's mind is being destroyed and their ability to make sense of the political, historical world being destroyed. If you can do that, I just think it will have such extreme effects on the whole world around you. Oh, I guess the camera's getting too hot. So that, nice. All right, well, I mean, maybe it'll turn off. It's not, I don't think it damages the camera if it gets too hot. Read about that one time, but that's funny. Well, all right, well, maybe the stream will end abruptly. It is what it is, but I'll keep going. So, but you know, if it ends, then have a good night. So, yeah, like I really think we have to work on this. Like we have to do concrete work on it, and it's just not gonna be easy. I feel a little, maybe I should just call it here, call it a quick stream, because that is, you know, it's not a bad place to end. And I could talk more about that, but well, yeah, here's one quote I was going to read. These are just some vocal warm-up exercises a voice instructor gave me years ago, and they're awesome, but it starts with such a hard quote. And I memorized this quote a while ago because I'm like, yes. And when I met him, I was like, damn, that is yeah, that's what I want in an instructor. But anyway, he said, quote, "You are entirely responsible for cutting through your own laziness, addictions, and unclarity. There is nothing to wait for and nobody to blame. Discipline is remembering what you really want." And I like meditated on that a few times, not in a long time. I should do it again, but like I would just think only about this phrase for whatever period of time while meditating. And eventually, like, I don't know, when you sit on any phrase, it just gains depth. So I'll say it again and tell you how I came to look at it. You are entirely responsible for cutting through your own laziness, addictions, and unclarity. So let's look at for cutting through. You can't cut through something with your body, really. Like I wouldn't, like you, I guess in theory you could chew through something, but it's not really cutting. There's an implication here that you have to create an instrument in order to even be capable of what he's talking about. It's not something you do. It's something you are able to do through learning to understand the mechanism by they work, developing an instrument to do so, and trial and error, finding out if it can cut through those things. And then you can cut through them. But it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a month. It takes a lot of attention. It takes a lot of work. And ultimately, and I'm not there yet, I still struggle with laziness. I still struggle with unclarity. And we'll get to that. But yeah, that's something I did not get at all through the first reading. And I think it actually is integral to employing this in your life. So the other thing I thought about was for cutting through your own laziness, addictions, and unclarity. Well, those are three different things, and they will perhaps require three different tools for that cutting. Perhaps not. Perhaps it's related. Perhaps it just needs a slight modification for one or the other. It's all personal. I won't talk about laziness or addictions, but unclarity, or like, I think we all know what laziness and addictions means, but unclarity was another one. And I actually haven't thought about this in a long time. And I like the I like the overheating symbol. It actually is, it is kind of nice. Someone says it's stimulating in the chat. It's kind of nice. So anyway, so cutting through your unclarity. And I think this is in some ways the most important one, because we may not even know what it is, because it's the least obvious. And I don't remember off the top of my head what epiphany I had in my own life with respect to unclarity. But on this show, I've talked about perceiving things sharply and understanding the relations between things sharply perceived, like getting to the singular essence of the situation, getting to the concrete reality of our situation. No generalizations. No, it's capitalism. No, it's billionaires. No, like, be specific about what is transpiring and who is making it transpire. That is a huge point in the show. Clarity. We need clarity, because if you don't have clarity, you're not going to get a lay of the land, to draw back to strategy from earlier. If you don't have clarity, there's fog of war. You're going to get killed in this world, because the enemy, so to speak, in this situation, like the just the people who really have the means and have the information, the material means, the software means, and all the information, like, there's no fog of war. There's very little fog of war. We're operating in a world where we're seen through. We're seen in so many ways. I mean, people are studying brain imaging to read thoughts. There's all sorts of places this is going. So we can't afford to be unclear about what's going on. And of course, this is a lot more personal, but sometimes we have these feelings, and sometimes we have these inclinations, and I think it's referring to, well, why do I want that? Well, like, is that really good for me? Or like, because there's so frequently in our lives, an idea pops into our head and we go do it. And like, there's a great ice cream place near here. Sometimes I'm like, I should go get ice cream. Go get ice cream. And it's not that deep. Sometimes it's not that deep. However, sometimes there is a greater clarity you could have about that, where it's like, maybe I'm dehydrated. Like, maybe my body is just like really thirsty, but another part of me loves ice cream and just wants to go get ice cream. So, and that's a real simple situation. That's not, that's not, why can't I get over my ex? That's not, why can't I get up in the morning? That's not, all the things that we can be really unclear on and not even know where to start taking a look at. So, all right. And then that last line, there's nothing to wait for and nobody to blame. It's not easy, but there's straight up nothing to wait for. That's kind of like when I called this attention is your life, the main thing I was thinking of as well is like time is your life. Like right now is like what you do right now is that's it. Like, at risk of sounding like trite or whatever, you literally have to seize the moment. You're just getting, the moment is just like dominating you, and you have to stop that. And again, it's not after, but you have to build those instruments to cut through those things that are holding you back. And once you have those, it becomes a lot easier to say, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to go for it. However, when you don't have those things, it can be really hard to sit down and do this work, whether you start writing about something or you start meditating or you start fasting. So, and also nobody to blame. Yeah, I think for me, that just when it says nobody to blame, I'm inclined to think about other people, but the real import of that for me is actually it's just a mirror back at myself. There's nobody to blame. It's like there's no one, and it's on me, and I have to do this work. And again, the next line, which is in a separate paragraph, discipline is remembering what you really want, and really is underlined. It's remembering what it is that you really want. And if you want to remember what it is you really want, you have to find out what it is that you really want in the first place. And that is another type of work. So there's various levels to this. There's various levels of work implied in these statements. And I think that is huge. And I think that is another thing that a Junto is great for. When you get together with people, is like, what do we really want? Like, what is this all about? What am I capable of? What is holding me back? Like, if you can start having those conversations with people you trust, and like, don't just like let in anyone. I mean, we have to be kind to people, but also like sometimes you tell someone something and some people are not trustworthy. It is what it is. Like you can't be, don't be open to a fault. So anyway, so one last thing I'll end on here then. With that in mind, with that object in mind, where it's like, I want to find out what I want, and I want to create the instruments in order to cut through my laziness, cut through my unclarity, cut through my addictions, and actually go after what it is that I really want. That's what it's all about right there. And to do that work, I mean, I really believe in restraint or rejection and fasting. And we're coming up on 2 holy seasons of fasting right now. There's Ramadan for Muslims and there is Lent for Christians. So I will comment on that. For the past 3 years, I observed a sort of modified form of Ramadan. And I was not Muslim, but I really appreciate some of the texts of Islam, and that practice was very important for my development, that fasting practice. So it opened me up to, I don't know, I mean, I did it all the subsequent years. It was, every time it ended, I was sad that it was ending. I guess I'll put it that way. And it wasn't easy. And I was not just fasting from food. I actually was sort of making exceptions for food, light amounts of food at inopportune or unauthorized times, because I had to fast from technology. I had to fast from certain emotions. I had to fast from just like other behaviors or something. I had to fast from more than just food, and I didn't want to, I don't know, I have to subsist. I don't know. There was so I did ultimately do some food fasting because it is essential to understanding the levels of your mind, because when you're hungry, I mean, you're just different. You get angry, you get irritable, you don't want to do anything, or you want to do something else. You just, you're just, and when you're fasting, you're not supposed to indulge in those things. You're not supposed to be angry at people. You're not supposed to be irritable. You're supposed to be charitable. You're supposed to be kind. You're supposed to go out of your way to help people. And so it makes you clarify what's going on and where it's coming from, and you fight with it. And over the course of the month, that is an intense experience. So anyway, I definitely recommend fasting at some point this season, because, and you can look into the different types of fast, but no matter what is required by the religion, for example, Catholics in the United States have very lax fasting rules, but you can go beyond them. Because if you only fast from food and you're on your phone all day coping with your hunger, it's like, what's the point even? You just suppressed the hunger. You suppressed everything that was supposed to be coming about through this fast. And yeah, and especially for depressed people or people with disordered moods, like a lot of those people shouldn't fast from food, because you can wind up in a dark place pretty fast, and you may suddenly be confused as to why you're there. You might not connect it with the hunger, and so you might wind up in a spiral. So, but everyone can fast from the phone. Everyone can fast from a lot of other behaviors that we have. So yeah, and this year I will observe Lent instead of Ramadan, but I'm gonna do what I said. Like I'm gonna do some sort of, I haven't decided the rules yet, but some sort of phone fast. That I guess I got off track somewhere along the line, because that's what I've been thinking about the past couple days, because I turned my phone off and I just said no, like I'm not I'm not doing this again. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to find out what I want to do, and I'm going to go for that, and I'm going to create the discipline that I want to see in my mind. I'm going to create the attention. I'm going to create the concentration, and I'm going to create a sense of collectedness in my life, in my mind. And in that collectedness, living in that way, amidst my friends, like, we are going to be able to weather the storm that is coming. And believe me, there is a storm that is coming. It's already here. People are destroying their brains. They're getting their brains destroyed. They don't know what's real or not. It's gonna, I mean, just trust me. We'll watch it together. We can watch it all together. So right here on the Junto. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't. And I'm thinking about, I'll be here tomorrow at 9, but I'm thinking about maybe taking Thursday and Friday off so that I can make videos, because this is just a lot of work for one person, because I want to be editing these streams into videos that people can share. Like when I talk about one subject for an amount of time, I want that to easily get into someone else's hands. And that's just, it's a lot of work. So maybe if I stream Monday, Tuesday, and then I can upload videos at least Thursday, Friday, you know, maybe it won't feel so bad. But I would like to be streaming as much as possible. So there's room in there to still do shows, but I would like to have a really set schedule. So not sure yet. I will see how the work goes on Wednesday, if I can get some videos together. And yeah, well, thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of your night, and turn your phone off. Just turn it off. All right. Goodbye.